This is ETEL4 News. And now, back to the studio.
Welcome back, folks. ETEL4 News continues this Thursday evening, and as you remember, we recently had credit counselor Steve West on the show.
That's correct. Now, we felt that we hadn't given you enough time with him and given you enough information. So what better way to do the new year right? And that's invite Steve West back into our studios.
That's right.
Good evening to you, Steve.
Hey, Steve. How's it going?
Good.
Did you have a nice new year?
Super. I'm glad it's over with, though.
So, with all the news that's covering the credit score, is it really hard to raise your credit score?
It's not really hard if you understand the scoring system, but there's so much misinformation out there and so many websites, so many different people selling credit reports, people just don't know where to go at.
Right. Now, what can we do when we have maxed out our credit cards? What does that actually do to our score?
Well, credit cards, you can take an example of a $1,000 credit card. If it's over $350 on the balance, anything over $350 drops your credit score. So literally, you can control your credit score if you control the credit card balances and keep them below $350 on a $1,000 limit.
And that's what you were telling us last time. You said you need to keep it below 35% of our maximum budget, correct?
All revolving activities combined.
Right.
Okay. And so how does credit card history actually affect your score in terms of, you know, like how like things you've done in the past?
Well, I mean, it's more about what you're doing right now,
Okay.
but 35% of your score comes from payment history, and then another 30% of your score comes from what they call indebtedness. So that's why the credit card affects your score adversely in a small amount of time. It's faster than any other item on your credit report.
You know, Steve, I'm constant, and I'm sure you're well aware of this. Visit this website, and they're really active on TV. You can see the commercials with the blinking lights and score changing.
And the songs.
Contact us. Is that really free, and does it really help us?
There's no such thing as a free credit score. These are companies that, you know, what they do is you have to put a credit card in, and they give you a free credit score. But then there's a $12 monitoring every month that you have to pay.
Do they make you aware of that, or is that a secret thing? That
They
try
do,
to
but
catch you?
what they do is they hope that the person's not going to cancel, and most people just don't. They don't really know how to cancel, so they end up. And then the score that they get is not even the correct score. There's really only one place you can really get a real, true, correct score.
And that's with you, right?
No, that's. I wish I had that. But that's with myfico.com. That's really the only place that you can get your.
And
real
that
accurate
is
score.
legit.
Yes, that's the 90% of all approvals are done through that scoring system.
Wow.
So now, I mean, obviously the worst case scenario for credit is bankruptcy. So how does that affect you if you have to go to bankruptcy or a credit counselor and get help?
Well, I'm sure you've seen the ad, you know, wipe your credit clear by going to bankruptcy or credit counseling. And in reality, 90% of people don't need to go to credit counseling services or bankruptcy or any of that. It does not wipe your credit clean. It actually keeps the bad stuff on your credit for an additional 7 years. So, and of course, your credit score is going to plummet. It's going to take you years and years to recuperate from that.
Let's go ahead and say that we have a scenario where we just close out our credit cards. We're just going to close it out. Does that do anything to our score?
No, closing out your credit cards would actually drop your score. It wouldn't help your score. You would think it would help it, but the fact that you don't have the activity anymore, it actually drops your credit score, and it changes some percentages to debt, and your score actually could drop hundreds of points from closing credit cards.
That's incredible.
And it's good that you're on here because credit affects everything. I mean, you have to have credit for nowadays just about anything because we're, you know, going away from the checks and going away from the cash and everything's just all plastic. So give us what are some good tips? Because I remember the last time you were on here, you were telling us about the grocery store diet thing. Tell us about that.
I call it my debt diet, and that's where you take all your grocery money or your living expenses and you pay your credit cards with that. And then you know, I say a debt diet because now you don't have any money for food. but in reality, you just take your credit cards on a weekly basis. You pay all the stuff that you're going to pay cash for. You pay to your credit cards, and then you take your credit cards and buy those items with your credit cards.
Stephen West, how can we get in contact with you to get more information? Because it is the start of a new year, and this is something that really does affect us, especially with times as they are right now. Tell us how we can contact you.
Well, I'm in Baton Rouge. My number is 225-291-2630. You can also email me or go to my website, lawfulsolutions.org. And I do free consultations and advise people on what they could do with their credit score.
And actually, I know someone who has gone through you and was just blown away with the success rate of you helping them. And it was all pretty much advice. So as long as you stick with the advice and continue it through, it really does work. Thank you so much, Stephen West, for coming on our show. I greatly appreciate you taking time out of your evening tonight. Now, after this short break, we're going to be back, aren't we?
That's right, chatting with the Red Cross. This is the